Hey, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co, and this is News and Week in Review, where we go through a variety of news pieces, the topic of the week, when we have one, the games I played, the videos of the week, all of those things, and of course links and timestamps to everything down below. But let's go ahead and start off with some news pieces, and it has been a busy week. In fact, this week has been insanely busy, well, we have a few things. We had Gamma Trade Show this past week in Louisville, Kentucky. We have Dice Tower West actively happening. Sadly, I'm not there. I went to the Gamma Trade Show, so you gotta pick and choose to some degree. There's also the Toy Fair that happened at the same time, so especially if you are a publisher, you are all over the place as far as which things pulled you in which direction. For myself, I wanted to go to Gamma Trade Show and Dice Tower West. Not as much the Toy Fair, not as much my personal jam, but I said it without having gone, but not as interesting to me as much. But I was at Gamma this entire past week, which means I should say I have been very, very, very bad at replying to any comments on videos this past week. I can never keep up with all of you. Thank you, all of you, to comment, and I try to engage as much as I possibly can, but I can never keep up as much as I'm trying to. But I will say this past week, I barely replied at all. I've been behind on Instagram, I've been behind on YouTube comments. I have kept up with videos, but barely. But it's been busy. It's been busy, so I appreciate your grace and your patience as I try to get back on track. In fact, the next month or so has a bunch of travel coming up. There's going to be PAX East I'm going to. There's going to be Adam. Adam is going to be on at the Gamers Ranch. That's part of Inside Up. Queen Games and Eagle Griffin Games. They run a thing. They did it last year. They're doing it again this year. They're actually going to come up in our News and Week in Review very shortly. But it's a lot of things basically coming up over the next several months. I hope to go to Geekway to the West. I hope to. They just canceled Come On Expo. I was not going to go to Geekway to the West because I was going to go to Come On Expo, but that unfortunately just canceled. So if you were looking forward to Come On Expo, it doesn't look like it's happening this year, unfortunately. They want to bring it back. I would love to go at some point, but not going to be this year. So maybe I'll see you at Geekway to the West instead. But with that, let's go ahead and dive into the actual news, because we have a whole bunch of news coming up. Starting off with Modifius. Modifius is taking they got access to the Discworld IP. Modifius Entertainment, they have Discworld IP. They're going to be bringing board games and RPGs to you, so you go ahead and sign up over here. Speaking of Modifius, they have over here Mass Effect is coming your way. Mass Effect designed by Eric Lang as well, so this is not just, Mass Effect with just a title and an IP and all that. It's designed by Eric Lang. It looks like it's going to be focused more on a narrower scope. They have a little bit of a press announcement. Again, I'll have links to everything down below. But if you wanted Mass Effect the board game and ISS Vanguard wasn't your jam, you have Mass Effect the board game over here coming your way. This is going to be direct to retail, distributed through Asmodee. We also, in various IP space news, we have Star Realms is joining the Star Trek universe. There's not a lot of information about this. This is announced over here on UVS Games. You can go to check this out. There's some other information, Godzilla, Challenger series. But down here, they have a little blurb, but Star Trek joins Universe's collectible card game. So in some way, Star Realms is coming. Is this the right announcement? I'm pretty sure. Yeah, Star Realms is coming to Star Trek. So it's called Star Trek Star Realms, I think is what it's called. But either way, this means in some way, shape, or form, Star Trek and Star Realms are joining forces. So if you wanted a IP version of Star Realms, that will be coming your way. We have over here, we have Mega Empires. Ares Games and Colossus Games are going to be partnering to publish Mega Empires. Those gigantic, they had Mega Empires East, they had West. That's going to be coming to your table from Ares Games. We also have over here Women in Gaming. I mentioned the Gamers Ranch. The Gamers Ranch, or specifically Adam. The Gamers Ranch is a separate thing entirely. The Gamers Ranch is just a place you can go to. You can go ahead and book a vacation and go ahead and see if it's a place for you. And, I don't know, go to the Gamers Ranch with a bunch of friends and book the next 2 weeks or any of those things. But in addition, and Adam, which is going to be, again, Inside Up, Eagle Griffin, and Queen Games, they run the Adam Convention, but they are also partnering to do a Women in Gaming mini game design retreat. So if you're interested in that, the whole page is over here. You can scan that QR code if it shows up on screen, or I'll try to, of course, have links down below to everything. Past that, we have The Hobby, a documentary about board games. This is something that I don't know the full scope of what this is, but The Hobby is some form of documentary around board games. I remember I saw them filming at WSBG like 2 years ago, not this past year, but the year before. But there's a trailer out now you can go ahead and check out. It gives you a bit of a snippet of specifically like the Blood Rage tournament, how the players behind it. So I don't know the full scope of how this movie is playing out, but if you are interested in more information about the board game hobby, well, some of that's going to be coming your way, and you can even see a board game trailer. Well, not a board game trailer, a trailer about the board game hobby, which is similar and yet different from what that is. We have Inside Up. That's not true. I don't know why I said Inside Up. We have Button Shy. Button Shy over here. They're coming out with a few new titles. In general, if you follow the Button Shy 2024 preview, you can see things that are coming up. But we have Aqua Rove and Aqua Junior, or Aqua Rove and Rove Junior, I should say, are going to be coming your way in case you're interested in those. Those will be launching, I want to say, a April crowdfunding campaign. We also have over here, we have Allplay announced that they're going to have the River Valley Glassworks Founders Edition. River Valley Glassworks, which we'll have coverage on the channel for you, but they are coming out with the Founders Edition as well, so they're going to have a few versions of this game, and they're going to be launching on Kickstarter, but you know, double layer player boards, meeples, we have this drawstring bag, we have full-on glass pieces that are going to be coming your way. They have more information about this, but in case you are interested in, well, River Valley Glassworks, there are a variety of budget options available for you, and more expensive options available for you as well, if you are looking for any of that. Over on IV Games YouTube channel, you can go ahead and check out the Playing the Hadrian Celestials expansion for the first time. They have an Age 1 gameplay that is incredibly highly edited and filmed and all that. Age 2 and 3 coming your way later, but if you're interested in a very heavily cinematic gameplay, one of those behind the scenes talking but also incredibly well filmed, this is likely one of the best productions you're going to see in the space these days for that type and style of gameplay. So kudos to IV Games as usual for continuing to push the envelope in what is done in the board game space in a variety of different ways. We also have Heroscape. Heroscape, this is something that was announced a while ago, but Heroscape is picked up effectively from Hasbro to Renegade Games, and I got a chance to see this one at Gamma, and they have announcements for the lineup of Heroscape titles and various iterations or sets that are coming your way. So in case you're interested in any of the Heroscape stuff, we'll have links to that down below. We have Seven Wonders Architects Medals. The first expansion to Seven Wonders Architects is now available from Asmodee. Seven Wonders Architects being the slightly more accessible version of Seven Wonders, which is already an accessible game. For me, Seven Wonders Architects wasn't a game that I enjoyed as much. I know it's been fairly well received. For me, I would just rather play Seven Wonders, and Seven Wonders Architects didn't really fit that. Didn't really hit that same sweet spot for me. But again, it has worked for others, so if it's a game you're interested in, you can check it out, and you can get the Medals expansion as well. And then lastly, we have Steamforged Games announcing a new partnership for Tales of the Valiant starter set together with oh my gosh, Kobold Press. Together with Kobold Press, they are teaming up to do a new starter set for Tales of the Valiant. Again, this can be the RPG space, so less something that I'm as aware of, but in case something you're interested in, that's what we have coming to you from Steamforged Games and Kobold Press. And that is what we have for our week in review. A whole bunch of news pieces, not a ton of deep dives into any of these because, again, you know, just I am barely catching up from Gamma. I just showed up back home today, and I do not have nearly enough time to get everything done before I can't do anything else. So, to that end, let's go ahead and talk about the news and week in review. We're not going to have a topic of the week, or not the news and week in review, we just did that part. We will not have a topic of the week, but what we will have is we'll start off with the games I played. And let's talk about some of the games I played at Gamma Expo. So, I went to Gamma Expo, great place to go. Lots of networking, but there are games to be played as well. And from the games I played, I definitely had a bunch that I'm happy to talk about. I will have more coverage in some of these as time goes on, but right now I'll just talk about some of the games I played. Starting off with easily my favorite highlight of the convention, which is Things in Rings from Allplay. Things in Rings is a deduction style game where you basically create a Venn diagram of rings, and each one of the circles has a rule around it. One related to the spelling of the word, one related to the way the word is in society, and one related to some aspects of the word. So for example, the spelling might be, oh, it has a double letter. And you don't know this stuff though, but these are the rules. The spelling might be it has a double letter, back-to-back letters. So for example, noodles would have OO next to each other. The context might be it's something that you, I don't know, something made of wood. And then the way it's used in society might be it's something that's found inside a home. And then players are going to have these cards that they try to predict where those cards go, and then the master guesser, or the person running the game effectively, will move those cards around, and you slowly try to figure out what are the common denominators of all these little Venn diagrams, because your goal is to get rid of your cards first. It's not necessarily to figure out exactly what the puzzles are, but to get rid of your cards, and if you are more likely to do so, if you can find the pattern, the common denominator between all these cards being put out. And that's the general concept of the game. For me, it leaned into a very deductive style game that I found very enjoyable, but more importantly, it was very, what's the word for it? It was very charming in the way it gave you the deductive game. So it's not just a pure logic game, which I have many games that do that, but it's very charming in the execution of it, and so I had a lot of fun with that one overall. From there, let's go ahead and talk about Life in Reterra. This is a game I hope to be diving into shortly soon to get more plays into it, but I had a chance to play this one. This is Eric Lang's new game, speaking of Eric Lang from Mass Effect, but well, from a variety of games, but from this particular week, Mass Effect. But Life in Reterra gives you a kind of, almost a cross between Cascadia and King Domino in my opinion. I really enjoyed playing through the one game I got of it, although again, I will be diving into this one more when I have a chance, but overall, it felt very accessible and variable in terms of what the game did, as far as the overall gameplay experience. Again, this is one that I had a lot of fun with going through the the art's very charming, the game is very easy to teach, and it gives you that variable scoring opportunities that I tend to appreciate in games. Games like Cascadia, games like Calico, games like, I don't even know, there's so many, Lunar, what's the Lunar one I get? There's Lunar Capital. There's a lot of games in this vein that I very much enjoy, and this was one of them. And then additionally, I'll say that there's another game coming from Manny Tremblay that was called Something Rain. I don't remember the name of it, but Something Rain. Omen Rain, Dark Rain, I don't remember the exact title of it, but it's a solo or two-player game. There's a bunch of other games I played as well. I had a chance to play Roth, but you can expect to see coverage on that one coming soon. I got a chance to play a whole bunch of games that I'm not remembering offhand, but this Rain one is one that I enjoyed. It's a solo or two-player game. It should be coming to crowdfunding at some point in 2024, but it's one in which you're basically playing a button masher game. You take on a character, and your character has certain abilities, and then from there you have a hand of cards, and your goal is to play those cards offensively, but to use some of those cards defensively while effectively trying to button mash, meaning your cards are either the knob of an arcade, so you have those knobs you're moving around, or alternatively they're buttons, and the way you combine buttons and knobs in the directions that they're splayed effectively, and the combination of your own unique character as well, gives you a degree of trying to figure out how to incur damage, how to gather shields, how to heal yourself, how to discard cards from your opponent's deck, all these little things, and then to lean into your character's abilities. And then there's a strong solo mode as well. Overall, it's an enjoyable puzzle. I don't know if it's a must-play game for me relative to other game systems out there, but it's one that I definitely did enjoy playing through. That is going to be Something Rain. I forgot the name of it. I should have written it down. But Something Rain from Manny Tremblay coming your way. And that's what we have as far as the games I played, which means it's time for the videos of the week. And the videos of the week, I'm going to go ahead and, walk through these on my phone over here because I don't have my notes in front of me. But we have, starting off, we have Saturday's videos. We have the following. We had a Train Rush preview. This is going to be a sponsored video by Meg. A sponsored video done by Meg on the channel covering Train Rush. Train Rush is currently active on crowdfunding. You can check that out. We had a War Chest review. A War Chest review, which was basically a review of an older title that's been around for a while. I filmed that video well over a year ago. It is the longest, it's the oldest filmed video on the channel. I regularly film videos and then save some for rainy days. I'd say on a regular basis, you're looking at videos that will go up, I don't know, a few days or a few weeks, sometimes maybe a month after they're filmed. But sometimes videos do get pushed off to later, just because of the schedule and the way things work out. And with me being gone the entire week, well, there were two videos that went up that were very old. One that was very old and one that was not very old, but old enough that it caused problems. We'll get to that one soon. On Sunday, we had another video on the dollar pledges, the dollar newsletter situation. That's something that's a drum that I've been beating, talking about that conversation. It's a subject that I think for right now I'm probably going to move on from. I'll probably talk about it when it's relevant. It's still a practice that I personally don't like, but I also understand the creator side of things. So for right now, I'm kind of in the vein of I've said my piece, and now it's time to let people decide whether they care or not. I'm a strong fan of voting with your wallet. I'm a strong fan of letting your voice be heard, but I also need to be mindful of the difference between I need to be mindful of the difference between being willing to talk from the consumer side versus being part of I guess the way I'd put it is I like being able to talk about different subjects within the industry. I've talked about a lot of things in different points in different places. I very often take the publisher side on a lot of issues, and for me to take the audience side, the consumer side, is something that I'm happy to have the opportunity to do so, especially when I see it more from the consumer side. The tricky part, and the part I have to be mindful of, is I have to be mindful not to be driving the conversation so much as being a part of the conversation, if that makes sense. Meaning, ultimately, if the dollar newsletter thing is something people are bothered by, you'll continue to let your voice be heard, and you'll continue to back or not back in a way that affects those campaigns. Alternatively, if people don't mind enough, then it'll just continue to happen, and I don't need to be the one who continuously leads the charge. I'm sure it might come up again, but for right now, I've done 2 videos on the subject. I've said my piece in it for right now, and unless something changes, that's going to be what we're going to get for right now. But again, happy to talk about it when relevant. Monday, we had my most overdue crowdfunding campaigns. This is a yearly video I do. I'll be doing it again next year, going over the campaigns that are, at least a year overdue. And by a year overdue, it has to be specifically a year overdue from when they said it would deliver. So whatever projected date they gave, if it's at least a year overdue, it shows up in that video. On Tuesday, we had a few videos as usual. We had a video for Galactic Cruise went up. Well, actually, first we had a Harry Potter video went up. The Harry Potter, the dueling miniatures game, that went up. That was a fun little skirmish game, sponsored gameplay. You can check that out. The campaign's over on Kickstarter, doing fairly well. We had a video from Meeple Inc, a game within a game. It's basically a worker placement game. It's another sponsored video, but it's basically a game within a game, which you are basically trying to it's worker placement, and you're trying to make a perfect board game with a lot of references to board games along the way. And then lastly, we had a video for Galactic Cruise. Galactic Cruise, this was a review, not sponsored, going up around, well, Galactic Cruise. I liked it a lot. I enjoyed it. I thought it was very intricate, felt like a Lacerda. I have not looked at the campaign itself. I know it's doing well, but I have not looked in detail. Every once in a while, I'll get somebody who, like, comments in a review, but what about the price point? What about the campaign? And usually those are separate things. I do cover the campaigns, but I do so in a completely separate window, and I haven't even looked at the campaign at all yet. On Wednesday, we had top 10 relatively hidden gems, or top 10 games that should be in the Board Game Geek Top 1000, which I probably should have titled differently or approached differently, because I filmed that video about, I want to say, like 6 weeks ago, and since filming that video, 3 of the games that I said should be in the top 1000 are now in the top 1000, some of them rattling up through the ranks. We had Sky Team, which jumped to like 288, Unsettled, probably due to the new crowdfunding, the most recent Kickstarter delivering. Unsettled has jumped up several ranks, now, in the around 700 range, and one more of them also, I don't remember what the other one was that, continued to climb up through the ranks, but we had basically 3 of the games that I talked about did go up through the ranks on BGG and are now higher. So again, this is the downside of putting up videos that are filmed earlier, but also they have to go up eventually, and that one is pushed off for several weeks while I did other videos instead. On Thursday, that was Wednesday. Thursday we had a few videos go up. We had an Agemonia playthrough. Again, the nature of being gone, unfortunately that went up later than it was supposed to. Usually videos go up 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on the channel. This one went up like 12:13 because I was literally talking to somebody else. I was like, oh yeah, Agemonia is going up to... No, it didn't go up. And so I desperately grabbed my phone and put it up because I forgot to schedule that one out properly. So the Agemonia game went up. If you are following the Agemonia playthroughs, this was another Agemonia, well, gameplay in this series of gameplays we've been doing on the channel. There are more to come on that. We have Mars Expedition Sol 43. This is a sponsored preview that Meg did on the channel, covering a bit of a solo / 2-player game that's going to be taking you through Mars, having you explore the planet and do all of that stuff while trying to optimize how fast your little rover or satellite can move around the planet accomplishing its goals. And lastly, we had a Star Wars Unlimited unboxing. This is a video I did with my son. I've been hoping to dive into Star Wars Unlimited. I have not done so yet. It was very much popular at Gamma at the trade show. It's just released. It's getting its retail release. I've seen a lot of positive feedback around the game so far, and it's one that I hope to dive into shortly. But for right now, this is just an unboxing of a box that Asmodee sent our way, so had a chance to do that. On Friday, I did a video on critical content isn't more honest. This is a regular conversation we have to have in the board game space, and I'd say overall the video was very well received, with a caveat that, for the most part, basically this is me talking about the fact that critical content is not more honest. Critical doesn't mean you're more honest. Content is either honest or not honest, regardless of the criticisms around it. And I don't like the narrative that's positioned that when we see people willing to give negative feedback, we paint that as the honest take. And sometimes the audience does so. Sometimes creators themselves are like, I'm the only one who's being honest in the board game space. And overall, I'd say that the feedback was generally well received. I will say that a lot of people who pointed out that, hey, the board game space is very positive. And so it's not, when we see critical content, we do want to reward that as someone who's willing to do critical content, which I agree with. I very much agree with. Something I talked about towards the end of the video that I think was looked over a little bit by some of the people who are pushing back on, like, hey, the board game space is very positive, is I talked about the fact that there's different types of content out there. There's a lot of content out there that is very positive. You just have to understand what content you're watching. If a video is a preview, if it's labeled as a preview, that is a paid showcase of the game. So if something is like, anything that's sponsored content effectively is a paid showcase of the game, and you need to watch that and know that going into it. That's not a review. Past that, there's going to be people who are just doing recommenders. There's just going to be recommendation channels. There's a lot of channels out there that are just recommending things, meaning I acknowledge 1,000,000 times over that the board game space is very positive overall as far as the content you're consuming. There's a lot of reasons for that, including the fact that games generally are good and the types of content people put out. I think that you should focus more on reviews though, and reviews are where very often people will point to the idea that, hey, reviews are just positive, and some of that is that games are good. Another thing is that very often you're more likely to see the positive content. I know for the life of me, like if I'm scrolling on Facebook, I'll get a lot of, companies that are showcasing, oh, Board Game Co. liked the game. No one's showcasing that when they didn't like the game. No one's showcasing the time that Tom Vassal gave a 4 to 10, but they are showcasing the 9s out of 10s and the 10s out of 10s. I had someone comment in the video that saying basically they don't watch the Dice Tower because Dice Tower just shills games. The amount of games that Dice Tower has been incredibly not shilling for, that has been critical on and given, low scores on, is a lot. But you are more primed to see positive content because that's the content you'll see on crowdfunding campaigns. That's the content you'll see shared or promoted or sponsored by various publishers who are trying to share that. Positive content has much more of an incentive to be shared relative to negative content, so you'll see it more as well. Past that, does the board game space drift positive? I do think it does. I just think there's a lot of reasons for it outside of purely, honesty in general. Which brings us to today. Today we'll have a few videos going up. We should have a Dodo's Riding Diners review going up, as well as a review for Confusing Lands. Check both of those out. And then as well as that, as far as next week, we have a bunch of things coming. We're going to have a monthly review. We're going to have 8 games if you like Carcassonne. We'll have top 10 companies that built an audience, a RuneScape Kingdoms unboxing, and many, many more coming your way. Which brings us to the games on the table. The games on the table, as usual, these are games I hope to be diving into this week. We have Life in Return, which I want to play while I still remember. We have Cat Blues as well as Bebop. I've learned the rules for both these games. I'm ready to go on them, but ultimately I need to play them because they're going to be part of an upcoming Bitewing Games crowdfunding campaign. And then we have Courtesans over here. This is going to be coming to you from Pandasaurus. It's one that I had a chance to see at Gamma Trade Show, and it's one that I will be covering, well, hopefully soon, but I need to go ahead and get some plays of it in first. And with that, I'm going to go ahead and go crash because, frankly, it's been a long day. It's been a long day. It's been a long week. And I'm just barely keeping up, trying to be on top of things. And there's a whole lot more to come. So until next time, I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Hope you enjoyed this video. I hope you have an excellent week. And as always, I hope you have a good one.